All right, this one we got Luther, the Fallen Sun. So it starts off with this guy by the name of Callum. Somebody called him, he got like a dirty secret on him, something like that. So basically, he got 15 minutes to get to this spot where everybody's going to know about this secret. He ends up going to this spot and seeing this car accident. Some lady's done deal dead as shit and somebody else is lying on the ground. So when he's going to check on the lady, all of a sudden the guy from the ground starts getting up and then tasers the dude. So at this point now he's basically missing. So now all of a sudden we got Detective Luther and his partner Martin on the case. Martin's actually a supervisor or whatever. The lady that was killed was named Cheryl. I guess she was like hiding out for something for the last 7 years. Something about invasion, a tax fraud or something, who knows. The thing is, we see this lady Corinne comes up and she's like, hey, you found my son yet? Corinne is Callum's mother. So Luther makes a solemn vow that he's going to promise to find her son. There's this guy looking around in the audience who we find out later his name is actually David, but he goes by a bunch of different names. So David calls up his connects or whatever like that, and he wants all his information based on Luther. Every negligent, impossible thing that's been scrapped under or whatever like that, he wants that to come to light. And apparently they was able to find it because they ended up taking Luther to jail. I'm like, damn, what the heck did he do? So apparently he was involved in racketeering, alleged abuse, pretty much everything above the law to get justice. So now with him out the way, David could continue his plans. So it gets to this point that Luther's in jail, Martin retired, and now we got a new DC by the name of Rain. She's taking over command of the facility and also taking on the Callum case. So while he's in jail, he gets this message, a little door, and message under the door, says 65.8, which actually means a certain type of radio station. So he turns it on his own radio, hears a message of Callum screaming, and this other guy just talking shit in the background. So yeah, basically he wanted him to hear this message. He was actually able to get a phone in prison, and he was actually able to call DC Rain. He tells him a situation. Apparently, though, he sent this message to like everybody that he's kidnapped. Callum is not the only person. So Corinne chilling at the house or whatever like that. All of a sudden, she gets a message probably from the killer or whatever like that, stating the information that where to meet at. So she goes to this random house and she's looking around for her son. Then we notice a bunch of other parents coming to this house too, and she ends up finding a bunch of kids hanging off the ceiling, including her son Callum. It's like 8 of them, done deal dead as shit. So it gets to this point with Luther while he's in jail because niggas been trying to beat him up because he used to be a cop. But it gets to the point he's just chilling and he gets a visitor. So who's his visitor? Corinne. She basically wants to berate him on how much he messed up and all that shit, talking about you kept a promise to me and now you couldn't keep your promise and now my son dead as shit. The crazy thing is, she wasn't in the state to drive up to the prison by herself. So who took her there? Fucking David. So apparently David lied to her, right? He was in a seminar or something like that. He told us some sob story about losing his wife in a fire or whatever like that. And they end up becoming friends. But Luther don't know that shit yet. So Luther, while calls in this guy Rick, right? He's going to find a way to get out this prison so he could hunt down this dude, David, and get some revenge. Meanwhile, David goes to this hospital with flowers, right? And he's going to see this lady. Turns out this lady is actually his ex-wife. Now, the thing is, she did get burnt up in a fire, but he's the one that caused it. Because I guess she was going to leave him and squeal about his plans. I guess he wasn't having that shit. She was pretty much burnt up and could barely talk, but somehow she was still alive. So Luther's plan is this. He wants Rick to help with the escape, but he wants him to help exactly when he does something crazy so he can get transferred to a different police station or whatever. A different prison. So they got the thing set up so they can cause a riot. And basically somehow they knew he started the riot, whatever like that. So basically they're about to transfer him. While they're transferring him, Rick and the boys come through and get him out of there and bust his escape. So now Luther's on the loose. So now Rain found out he escaped. She turns to the one person that knows him best, Martin. Now Martin's been retired, but bottom line is he's going to help out in the situation. And of course after Luther escapes, he's been talking to Martin the entire time doing stuff. First thing Luther does, he goes to this door or whatever like that looks kind of like a strip club or something. This guy answers. So why does he go to this door? Because that's where he knows where the frequency came from for the message that he got in the jail. So he's talking to this dude. He's trying to get some information from him before the real police show up. And he ends up getting a cell phone with some text messages on it. Meanwhile, we figure out what David's really up to. He's teamed up with this like Czechoslovakian dude that's be selling people. And the people that he can't sell, he's just killing them off. But he's got like a whole network of people that have been working to help this stuff out, right? Just camera recording everything. Basically, he's been a step above these niggas. So it comes to a point he goes through the text messages and figures out where his next spot is going to be. It's going to be at some type of park. Now, Luther's made a deal with Rain for the time being to, catch the killer or whatever like that. But when he catches him, she's like, we're going to catch both of them niggas. So when he finally catches him on the scene, it's a standoff. He's holding somebody by their neck or whatever. But the crazy thing is you got these people standing at the top of these buildings, right? Looking like they're about to jump off. I guess he's got control of them or something. And all of a sudden they just start falling out the buildings. I'm like, what the fuck? And that was his way to make an escape. See, he already knew somebody was tracking him. So Luther's chasing David through the subway and whatnot. But some police come down there. They end up getting cut up. And that gives a chance for David to get away. Luther's trying to help the police officer, but obviously he can't help, too much because when they all come in there, they're probably going to end up taking him down. So they like, yo, just get out of here. The police officer he tried to help ended up dying. So now it gets to a point where Luther has to go end up seeing Corinne. They got a little bit of information on David because he finally saw his face. So when he's finally talking to Corinne, he figures out that somebody was with her to take her to the jail, whatever like that. Now they figured out exactly who it was. And I guess at that point, she's got some more information out of it now to give to Luther. And that's how they was able to find David's ex-wife. See, at the same time, David's trying to get Luther off his back, so he's about to jump on his next mission. Now, what's his next mission about to be? So we end up going back to Detective Rain, and she's telling this little girl by the name of Anna to clean up the house or whatever. This is when we realize this is her daughter. So when she's trying to clean up the house, guess who comes in to kidnap her? Freaking David. Now you're thinking to yourself at this point, how can he be one step above everything, right? He's got to have a mole somewhere, right? The mole is this guy in the police department by the name of Mitch. Apparently he's got some information on him too, because it's been times he's been throwing them off a trail, and now we know why. So when they talk to the wife, they basically got some information about where David's real hideout is. Apparently he got word on that, so he wanted Mitch to do this one more job. He wanted him to kill his wife. But when he gets there, he's already been tipped off, and they already know what's up. Bottom line is, Martin's already got him cornered. So then Mitch used the drug on himself and kills himself. So Rain really doesn't want to work with Luther, but at this point she doesn't really have a choice if she's trying to get her daughter back. So now both of them are going to drive to this hideout, right? Now this spot looks like it's in the goddamn Antarctic or whatever like that. It's all cold or whatever. And then like the car stops and it's like a mile and a half to go, and then they got to just walk the mile and a half. Now while they're walking this mile, they're looking at the ice on the ground. They got to walk past the ice, but they see that there's actual bodies under the ice. It's bad bodies. I'm like, what the fuck? So they end up getting to this cold ass mansion or whatever like that, right? It's like snow all inside and everything. They get this one room, they see a bunch of bodies just laying up on the ceiling again. We're like, oh shit. And then she sees her daughter done deal dead as shit. I'm like, yo. But the thing is, she had a bag on her head, and then she turned around her arm and she realized that's not her daughter. Then the Russian guy ends up sneak attacking Rain. And while Luther exploring the rest of the house, David comes through and sneak attack Luther. Next thing you know, Luther's tied up in his chair, and then they bring in Rain. Now you think to yourself, he's been murking everybody in the entire world. Why the heck is he keeping Anna alive? Tell you why. He's basically going to use her to get what he wants. Now the thing is, in this little dungeon, he's got all these cameras set up, right? Because he's putting up some type of like show, which I guess he's getting money off of that shit too. But the crazy thing is, he's got a show where certain people just want to see calamity and violence, right? He wants them to basically do their bidding, or they're basically going to kill off Anna. So forcibly, he ends up getting Rain to stab Luther. And then they end up tying Rain up in the chair, and Luther has to use a hammer to bash freaking Rain's kneecap. But he doesn't decide to do it, and then at the last minute he tells him like, yeah, we spoke to your wife, and by the way, she is still alive. Yeah, we found your mole and all that good shit. And the police are on their way too, because they already know the location of where you're staying at. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, and I advise your watchers to cut the cameras off because the police are on their way to your spots too. And of course they start cutting their cameras off. Because all David wants is attention. So David's so pissed off, he's trying to find a way to escape. So in the calamity, Luther finds a way to get Rain loose, and Luther starts going after David. Rain ends up fighting off the Russian dude. And it turns out David's like locking doors and shit. He even locked the Russian dude in there. Then the room starts loading up with water. It turns out it's not water, it's actually kerosene. He's basically gonna burn the whole fucking spot down. But the thing is, it's like a minute to a detonation sequence to start the fire up, whatever like that. So it's like a bunch of kerosene just being in the room. She ends up getting to Anna, and Anna's gotta be able to turn the wheel to be able to stop it or whatever, but she can't turn the wheel. Meanwhile, Luther hops in the car and chases after David. They end up falling through the ice and shit. David's trying to get back up, but he can't get up out the ice. He's about to be done deal dead as shit. Now, amidst them struggling trying to get out the ice, he ends up dropping his phone that's inside the car. Luther gets the phone and deactivates the locks that are in the, the building or whatever like that, so that way Rain and Anna can get out. But yeah, the fire turned on and burnt the Russian guy done deal dead as shit. So at this point, David done deal, and at the point you're thinking to yourself, Luther's done deal. But all of a sudden, we see people coming in and swimming. It's obviously the police, and they end up saving Luther. But afterwards, because he broke out of jail, they got to arrest him. So he ends up flying in a helicopter or whatever like that. Next thing we know, he's in his room, and he's in his room with Martin. So he's asking Martin, where is he? He's like, you in a safe house. But the government? Government. Then he ends up coming up the safe house, a bunch of cars around, and they want him to speak to this chief. And before he gets in the car, that's how the movie ends. We're like, all right. So basically David was a bunch of craziness. He was holding a bunch of people's secrets over their heads, whatever like that. And he was either killing them or selling them off. Oh, by the way, it was the other people that were still alive. They were in that little fortress or whatever like that. They were able to be freed. But yeah, a lot of people died in the process. Luther, the Fallen Son on Netflix. Check it out.